Poncho from another day's walk here, and this is Flamingo. He just finished the Appalachian Trail, and this is what is in his pack.
Alright, how's it going, y'all? So, I carried the Zimmer-built pack. This here is a custom that was made just for me, but it is slightly based off of their Quick Step. I really like this pack. It is a little bit for those who appreciate taking less things. It is a little bit of an adjustment to not have a hip belt. However, this one's just slightly bigger than their Quick Step model. I think it's in the ballpark of about 11, 12, 13 ounces, somewhere in there. What I really love about it is you can pretty much just ask for what you want on the pack. I've got a good mesh pocket right on the bottom here. These straps are really small, but they do the trick, and I was able to get this Y strap on top so I can add a bag of chips, or if I ever find myself elsewhere where I need to strap a bear can on, I can do that. Let's look at what we actually got here. Got our smart water bottles. I couldn't quite do the Sawyer micro squeeze, so basic Sawyer squeeze. I think I went through like 2 or 3 of them on the trail, just from one freezing and the next one falling off of my pack. So this right here is my shelter. This is from Mountain Laurel Designs. It's a poncho tarp. It actually kind of defeated the purpose of being rain gear because I have a Frog Tog rain jacket. I was amped about trying it, but then I realized when I was getting on the trail in February, I should probably have everything covered, and I think that was a good idea. It is a little bit small, and I can keep myself drying it, but I think for future hikes I will be switching to the Grace tarp, which is more of a 2-person tarp. However, I think it is a pretty similar weight. This is about 7 ounces, something in that ballpark. Got the peanut butter jar. Now, I did not carry one of these on the first half because it was too cold to cold soak. However, I took a big break and got back on the trail. It was no longer winter time. That was great because I could put my ramen or couscous in and it wouldn't just be a brick of ice when I was done. Mosquito head net, this came in pretty clutch in Maine. I guess I didn't clear it out super well because I still have snacks in here. Usually how I pack this, I usually have about a day's worth of food between the outside and bottom of my pack, and that's usually the day's food, and the rest goes in the pack. I may have to change that up again for warmer hikes or hiking in the desert where everything melts, but let's see what else we got. Just string for my tarp. I've got, I think there's Z-Packs, stakes, carbon ones, which are maybe a little bit pretentious, but I love them. They weigh like less than an ounce for all of them or something like that, which I am all about that. All right, let's open her up. So I never ended up switching to kind of a more summer setup, which I definitely could have as I went to the AT in the springtime, but starting in February, I'm gonna pull some of these things out and pull them back out later, but I'll start with my sleeping system, which is probably what most of you are most curious about. I will set it right here. You've got your thermals, got a base layer in there somewhere, and I generally would wear these when I'm sleeping. That's why I'm sharing them now. These are just leggings that I had. These are one thing that I did switch out. I had something a little bit more hefty. These are just your typical Walmart leggings. and sometimes I would wear my base layer when I slept. And this is another thing maybe I could have sent home. It weighs something like 5 ounces. It's Mountain Hardware. I bought it off of Sierra Trading Post a long time ago, and I'm not 100% sure if they make that model anymore or what it's called. All right, so sleeping pad right here. This is the Thermarest X-Therm. This is one of those items that's got like a 6.9 R value, which is really pretty warm. It weighs 15 ounces, which is really pretty heavy. So, you know, I really just didn't want to go through the work of switching it out when I was so far into the trail and I would have to deal with shipping, and I didn't want to buy a new pad since I already had a warmer one, but I didn't really want to deal with sending it. Big ordeal, so I just kept it, and it was a little heavier than I would like, and I had some really warm nights, which is also which comes into probably what everybody's most curious about right here is my quilt. This right here is the Katabatic, I don't remember the name off my head, top of my head. It's the pro version that doesn't have the little hole in the bottom. And this thing is rated to 15 degrees by their own standard. They don't actually do a similar test to other quilts, and they don't do a survival rating. They just will say like this quilt will have you good at 15 degrees. And I will say like between this sleeping pad and this 15-degree quilt, you know, in February on the AT, it got down to 15 or 10, and there were times when I was maybe a little uncomfortable. I had an emergency blanket for parts of the trail, and I sometimes would just stick that in with me, but for the most part, I was pretty cozy in this thing. And, you know, I suppose I owed my life to it with how much spent and how much it's kept me warm. And I've also gotten into camp and just been completely soaking wet, and within that quilt, I've been able to just use my body heat to dry everything. Not fun, but doable, and I give a lot of credit to them for the quality of what I've been using. Right here, we've got the Frog Tog. I believe this is the Ultralight 2. I didn't keep the rain pants that come with it, but I recommend seriously to anybody who is deciding what rain jacket that they're going to buy that this costs $20, and you know, I have a really nice Arc'teryx rain jacket that keeps me super dry, but you know, that thing weighs like over a pound, and it costs like, I don't even know. I bought it on discount a long time ago, but those jackets generally run in the $300 to $500 range, and that $20 jacket is not as hefty, but it will definitely keep you just as dry, and drier than most rain jackets on the market. Kept me sane in those cold months for sure. Let's see, I've got a couple of these. The other one's probably fishing in the foot box of my quilt, but this is, I believe, Z-Packs, their little down sock. I really liked this in the wintertime. I kept carrying it just because I liked it. And every now and then it would be kind of chilly, or it was warm enough where I wanted to stick my feet out of the bag. I could have sent those home, but by the time I thought about that, I was close enough to Katahdin where it didn't really matter. We've got several pairs of Injinjis. Now these are two different socks. As you'll kind of see, like I'm just pulling one thing out at a time. it's not a super organized system that I've got going on, but it has done the trick for me. I usually would carry about 3 pairs of these toe socks at a time. I really love them. You know, I have had blisters while wearing them, but it's kind of hard not to when you're walking through Pennsylvania because those rocks are just crazy, and I was trying to push some pretty big miles, and you know, I would hit 30s or high 20s a lot of the time, so it definitely has its reasons for that. Let's see, I've got just a little bag of random electronics, and this is just where I keep all the real stuff. I've got my little journal, toothbrush, toothpaste is in there, charging cords. I actually carry 2 battery packs, and the reason for that is rather than carry one that has like 8-10 hours of charging or whatever, 'cause I'm on my phone all the time, let's be honest. I carry 2 because with the dual charger, I can charge them both at once, and these things take a long time to charge. So if I'm on a shorter carry and I don't need to use all this battery, which I really could have gotten away with one on the AT, I could plug both of them in at the same time, and if they both were only a quarter used, then it was like charging a quarter of them instead of 1/2 of one, which just saves a lot of time in town. Ibuprofen, gotta love the vitamin I. I try to use that as sparingly as possible. More cords. Don't think there's really anything else to see here. And let's see. I think the only thing I haven't mentioned is my trekking pole here. This is the Gossamer Gear LT5, I believe. So if you look at it, you'll notice that this tip is broken. Now, this tip broke for me at just before I hit 2,000 miles, and I would love, as much as I would love to say it was the pole's fault for being too fragile, it was my own fault. I generally try not to be a super angry person, and I think I conceal that pretty well, but I kind of was hit with the perfect storm in Maine, where first a gnat flew in my eye, and while I was trying to pick it out, I was picking my eye out, and then a wood chip got stuck in my eye, and I'm already pretty angry. Then I kick a rock, and then the next thing you know, I get stabbed in the face by a tree branch. And so I have done this several times, where I just kind of get angry at a tree branch that hits me in the face, and I give it a little love tap with my trekking pole. The swing was maybe a little more aggressive than it needed to be, and the integrity of the tree branch was a little bit more hefty than I thought it ought to be. And somebody's popular. Regardless, I gave a good old swing, and then I watched the tip of my trekking pole fly into the woods. So, fortunately, you can buy different segments of this. I carry a little bit of Gorilla Tape on the trekking pole, just in case whatever is to happen. And, you know, so I just put a little bit around the end, and that got me in over to the rest of my hike. Let's see if I missed anything. A couple other little things I may have missed. I've got this goose feet gear, balaclava. It's really great as a pair with that quilt because, you know, it's nice to have your head covered and not have to pull your quilt over your face and pretend like you can breathe, because quilts are just the best thing ever. I actually do really love my quilt. And then I've got this hat. This hat's very special to me. It's my dad's, and I've carried it on both of my through hikes now. Also, this jacket again. I believe. Oh, I don't think I brought this up yet. So this is probably my favorite piece of gear that I've dropped a bunch of money on. This is the Montbell Plasma 1000. It's, you know, it's almost as big of a part of my hike to me as my signature pink pants, but I really love this jacket for how warm it is, but it's got 1,000 fill feather, which is just very efficient in heating, so there's very little need for a lot of it. So this jacket is about 4.5 ounces, which is just absurd. And in a lot of the like desert hiking that I've done, I will actually not carry a base weight or a base layer. And man, we are just so popular today. I gotta level with you though. That's not my phone. I'm not that popular. Anyways, but I will actually take this. I'll send my base layer home, and what I'll do is I will put it on backwards, and I'll look ridiculous, but who cares? Because I'm in the middle of the desert, and this way, instead of having the heat generate between my back and the backpack, I get the same effect of just wearing a t-shirt, and it's not as cold there, but I still get kind of the wind block. That's my silly little ultralight hack that I've found out on the PCT, and I plan on doing that again in the future. So I believe that's everything. As far as my base weight, I'm not 100% sure. I know it sits somewhere within the range of between 6 and 8 pounds. I have a lighter pack somewhere, but my gear list changes so often that it's really kind of hard to know. And then there's minor things like, well, I could definitely be saving 5 ounces on that sleeping pad, and like maybe I will, maybe I won't. But yeah, that's my pack.
One thing real quick. So you have a pack liner, like just like a trash bag or something.
Yeah.
Do you think that is necessary for that bag, or do you do that for safety precautions?
So I...
Because that's a very interesting pack that not too many people's going to know much about.
So maybe a little bit more information about this pack itself too. So Zimmer-Built is a company out of Ohio, and I was turned on to them because the pack that I was considering just, you know, it was the Gossamer Gear Murmur, I believe, which, you know, on paper was really good, but I was just a little bit unsure of it, so I went to kind of the next lightest on the market, which was a Quick Step. I actually started the trail with a slightly smaller one. When I got back on the trail, I wasn't sure if I would need to do longer food carries because of coronavirus, and I also had plans to do the CDT, so I was thinking, let's get a slightly bigger pack so that I can carry more with it. But yeah, it's really catered just to me. I only walk with one trekking pole, so I've got like a tiny little thing that if you have a tip on your trekking pole, you can slide right in there. As far as waterproof, water resistant, you know, it's a lot of people think it's a hyperlight bag, and it's not. You know, hyperlight bags are not entirely impervious to water, and that is probably about the same with this pack. I can say that I've had like things left outside of my trash bag liner, and in a downpour all day, they've gotten just like a little bit damp. So it is pretty effective, but it's not perfect, and it does rain a lot on the AT.
What's the most you think that pack could carry? What's the heaviest you think would be comfortable and realistic with that pack?
So,
just for anybody that might be looking into something like that.
So I think I've had it. I carry a lot of food. You know, when you are as skinny as I am, like I started the trail at a pretty similar weight, so I get hiker hunger very fast. I eat a lot. I've even had someone be like, "Oh, you were an ultralight hiker, and then you got your resupply." So, I think I've had this pack up to probably about 25 pounds with full of food. It's not fun having that, but you do it for a day, you push through. It is made pretty well, so it's not so much a matter of what can the pack handle, but like what can you handle without a hip belt. And it does get pretty challenging once you're past 20 pounds doing that. So you do want to plan accordingly. One item I also forgot is my OP sack. It's just smell proof. I really love this thing. Like, I would sleep in a shelter where I saw the mouse the morning after, and this happened several times, or the night before, and I could just leave it on the ground next to me and it wouldn't even mess with it. And I do sleep with my food. Some people might get upset about that, but I'm not really one to be intimidated by bears. I think you're more likely to hurt yourself or lose your food by it getting stuck if you're hanging a bear bag. And but there are certainly times and places, and knowing your regulations are important too. So if that is a required law, I definitely encourage to stick by that. I'm not just promoting irresponsibility. I think that I try and practice what I think keeps my food the best, and that's why I use that.
Alrighty, thank you for showing all of your gear here. There's a ton of it. Yeah, definitely could tell that. And it is a very interesting setup.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different than what many hikers choose, but it is kind of it can almost be a fun game, and just seeing what you can go without. Although sometimes you're like, yeah, that was a mistake sending that home. As much as I love the ultralight game, sometimes your shoulders do hurt, so I will give that caveat.
Alright guys, I'm the camera guy back here, but I'm going to finish this video like always. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the sunny side.